Now.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening, everyone, the people in our audience and those out in Zoom land. Today at our council meeting, I will introduce you to the people around the table. Down here we have our town clerk, Christine Keller, John Paschotti. On this end is our town manager, Michelle Flewelling, Larry McDonald, Peter Lawrence, and I am filling in for Matt Townsend tonight as chair, and I'm Stephanie Thibodeau. So again, thank you for coming. First order of business. Oh, we're in session. Okay. First order of business is public announcements. Details may be found at www.fairfieldmaine.com and or via our social media presence. Fairfield is hiring with openings with the police, fire, and Crossroads TV departments. The second quarter property taxes are due November 1st and may be processed online, in person, over the phone, mailed, or via the drop box located at 19 Lawrence Avenue. For the November 7th, 2023 municipal and state elections, absentee ballots are now available from October 10th to November 2nd, with applications available online, in person, and via phone. Accessible absentee ballots are available online. Polls will be open 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on November 7th at the Fairfield Community Center here at 61 Water Street. For the municipal election, for the council, there is one seat, which is a 3-year term, and there are 3 candidates. There is one seat open for the Kennebec Water District. It's a 3-year term, and there is one declared write-in candidate. We also have 6 seats open for the Charter Commission. This is a 1-year term, write-in only contest. You must be 18 years of age, a registered voter for the town of Fairfield, and willing to serve in accordance with the town charter and state statutes. No candidates took out nomination papers by the deadline. Therefore, everything is done as a write-in. The 2024 dog licensing tags will be available at the town office on October 16th. The current 2023 dog licenses expire on December 31st. The annual Household Hazardous Waste Day will take place Saturday, October 21st, from 8 to 12 p.m. at the Winslow Public Works Garage. Residents of Fairfield must pre-register by calling or in person at the Fairfield Town Office in order to participate. The Lawrence Public Library on Wednesdays at 10:30 a.m. will be story time and crafts. Fridays from 1 to 4 p.m. will be the Lego Club drop-in. This year's Fall Festival will take place on October 21st from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. with music, magic, munchies, and more. Special events, regular and seasonal programs may also be found on the Lawrence Public Library social media page. The Fairfield Police Department will be hosting Trunk or Treat on Sunday, October 29th from 3 to 6 p.m. on Escalon Drive in Fairfield. The Fairfield Farmers Market is held on Wednesdays from 2 to 6 p.m. and Saturdays from 9:30 to 1:30 p.m., mid-May to mid-October. The market is located at the Fairfield Church of the Nazarene at 81 Main Street. Second order of business, public hearings, and there is none. Third order of business, public comments. Limit is 3 minutes. Members of the public may speak to the council or request opportunity to speak on a specific item that is on the agenda, or may email comments for council to the info@fairfield-me.gov, and that's our new website, by 4 p.m., day of meeting. Submitted content may be read aloud at this time. Is there anything?
I don't have anything. That's the new email. Our website is still.com.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
And there's no one from the audience.
I do believe we have somebody that wanted to speak during public comments.
Oh, that's now.
Yes.
I'm Ellis Appleton. I live at 60 Green Road. I've lived here since I was like 10. I like this town, and you guys were talking last week about your trip to Gardner, I believe, and your town. What I know this wasn't on your to talk about tonight thing, but what had struck me was the volunteer getting people from the town to help build the town, which is great. But there was also talk about the company or somebody to help guide that. I was just wondering if there was any way, or if we were looking at finding somebody from this town to guide that instead of from a different town.
If there's somebody that is vetted from our town that could do this and knows how to do the planning process, they should come and speak with the town manager. The person, the founder MDF that we saw in Gardner, that's what they do, that they are a planning company for the downtowns. And it was just a networking opportunity. But if there's somebody else, then people should talk with the town manager, and she will disseminate the information. We would, to spend money, there should probably be a proposal that goes out. So, and
Right.
Michelle, correct me if I'm wrong. But again, that was just one company that is vetted and does that. That's their sole focus.
The base
on
style
planning.
hollow walls.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was
Do you
just...
know of somebody that is?
No, my thought was more along the lines of, could we do something more with the community itself, in the sense of like, 'cause I think it was brought up about like some signs for the town and stuff, or just making downtown look better, which we have high school kids that I'm sure take CAD class, and they'd probably love the opportunity to,
Yeah.
make a sign for either the parks or the town.
And that's what I would like to see, is people getting interested in
Bringing in-
volunteering
Yeah.
to make our town better. In order to do that, though, we need people that can be the organizers of this and guide us through this process. In order to redo the downtown, it's going to take more than 1 year. I'm looking at maybe a 5 to 10 year process overall. And I'm currently still reading the 2002 downtown plan. There was one in 1997, and there was another one around in the 1970s. And it always takes time to get those things done. But the community is what supports the plan. They are the backbone of a plan. And it's through volunteerism that we'll be able to make a change in our downtown. That's what I perceive.
And I do agree with that. Like I said, I think the volunteering part is good. It was what struck me was we're all going to volunteer, but the one company that's making money, and maybe there is nobody in this town. I don't have anybody in mind. Like I said, I just have ideas on maybe to get the town to do it instead of a big company that we're going to pay, because it benefits us here.
In the long run, it would be, but it's very labor intensive to go and organize a restructuring. Just what we've been doing on the Economic Committee with the Mill Island Park redevelopment plan. It takes a lot of organization, and it takes people who know what they're doing to be able to get things off the ground. And we all have very good intentions as citizens and people to do what's best for our town, but to actually follow through on a multi-step process, it takes people that know how to do that, to get the people involved. Okay? So.
Go ahead, Joe.
I was going to say, I think another thing that is very, very important would be to get we do have businesses downtown, and we need to get those business owners involved, because they're the ones that will also profit from increasing and expanding the town.
Right. Well, that was actually another kind of thing that I was going to bring up. I don't really know how or when, but you had mentioned people congregating downtown. It doesn't seem super hard for something like that to get done. I mean, and I don't know if this is possible, again, it's just an idea, but like the ATV club, for instance, if we could get the trail back to downtown, because it used to come right into Shawmut, if we could get back to downtown and you let us drive through town, people will stop. They'll go to Belanger's, they'll go to these camper things over here. You know, those were just ideas, and that brings people downtown without a whole bunch of legwork. I mean, I'm sure that there's legwork there, don't get me wrong, but you know what I mean.
Right, right.
Short things that will bring people and kind of promote more small business, which brings more people downtown. I looked at like things to do in Fairfield. I had a list of 14 things. 2 of them are in Fairfield.
In the town.
3, maybe 3. There's 2 I have a list. 2 or 3 are in this town. The rest of them are Skowhegan, Waterville, everywhere but here.
Yeah.
I think it was 3. Yeah, 3. So, and on top of that, only 2 of those things were free to do. So it's not like people are going because it's free. They're going because there's something to do in that town.
Right.
Whereas if we can kind of bring it back to getting a small business to come here, again with the ATV club, maybe somebody else will start an ice cream shop here because there's so many people coming through. Maybe they won't. I don't know. It was an idea.
Alice, I can see that you have a vision for our town.
I do.
And I think that we'll be talking again. And what we talked about last time at the council with the downtown revitalization, it's just in its infancy.
Yep.
We have to talk to people, talk to MDF, see what they can do for us, hopefully without charge. But we do need to have somebody, an organization, that can actually organize this downtown revitalization. I've got your name now, Ellis.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Just real quick, Ellis. So, thank you for coming. Okay. I think you're spot on with a lot of the things that you said. I agree with a lot of what you said. What you're doing by coming here tonight and asking the questions, kind of getting out of your comfort zone a little bit, is how this all starts.
Yeah.
It really and truly does. It starts with you coming here, and then maybe one of your friends you'll be talking to, them coming here and asking questions. That's how this works, and so thank you.
Yep.
Yes,
I
thank you.
have been talking to other people, trying.
Thank you,
Good,
Alice.
thank you.
Is there anybody else from the audience that would like to speak tonight? Okay, seeing none, we will go on to our 4th order of business. Reports from staff and committees, the town manager.
So on October 3rd, the Fairfield Economic Community Development Committee met, which Councilor Thibodeau will speak on, and then following that meeting, immediately afterwards, the Building Committee met, which Councilor Lawrence will speak about. October 4th and 5th, I did attend MMA's convention in Augusta. There were several trainings and some good speakers. Also, the annual meeting to vote on their bylaw changes that they had submitted a month or so ago. And then October 10th, which was yesterday, Travis Leary and I did attend a kickoff meeting via Zoom with the folks conducting the fire department audit. They actually will be here in person for conversations with staff in the early part of November. They will also be looking to set up Zoom meetings with councilors and select board members from the town of Benton following their in-person visit. They want to have actually been here first, seen both communities, seen our facilities before they actually have a conversation with the councilors and the board members. But that will be forthcoming. I've got to forward their email addresses to them. But that is moving right along. So, and that's it for me.
Thank you.
I just have one question on this monthly report. I know every department puts their information in
Yep.
about the assessors. I know we have a part-time assessor.
Right.
Why can't the assessor put his information in?
I can see if that's something that they can do. Because they're only here one day a week, it hasn't been something that I've asked them to spend the time on, but we can
You might
try
help
to see if we
the
can do that.
questions on
Yeah, especially
assessment.
as the reval process is
Right.
getting underway.
That'll help with all the
Yep.
questions.
Sure, I can check on that.
Thank you, Peter. That's
Yep.
a good idea. All right. The Economic and Community Development Committee met on the first Tuesday of the month, and we discussed the Mill Island plan, the waterfront plan, and you'll be hearing more about that later in the meeting. We also discussed the downtown revitalization and moving ahead with that as a major goal for the upcoming year. And we also talked about the possibility of an ice rink in the town of Fairfield. And that has been brought up by a couple of citizens, and we talked about it, and if there are people interested in wanting to have an ice rink, they should get in touch with one of us, one of the counselors. Let us know. And I know Waterville's been trying to get one off the ground, and there's been some issues. And I know that KVCC's vamping up their athletic department, and I don't know if ice skating is on the agenda or not, but that is something to consider. So that is probably going to come up again in the future, the idea of an ice rink. Peter?
Yes. After that meeting with the Economic Community Development, the Bill and Assessment Committee met at 5 o'clock, right at the police station. We had Chief Gould and Captain Seyman was our tour guides. Took us through the police department. They had assessments. We gave each department an assessment. Chief Gould did a fantastic job. He did that assessment, what we wanted, and his own personal assessment with pictures of the building. So after the assessment, we all talked about it, and probably a lot of big questions was, I heard on Facebook was the police department expanding because of what's been happening behind the police department and the Big Apple. During the assessment, we was on Big Apple property. The border is that close to the police department. So after the assessment, we discussed it back in the council chambers. Mostly what the assessment is can the building be revitalized, be renovated? Has it met its lifespan? Or can things like that? And with a discussion afterwards, the police department has met its lifespan. There's no more room for expansion for what the employees, how many employees they have. So after all our meetings, we will have a final report. Our next meeting will be Tuesday, October 24th at 5 o'clock. We got a little aggressive for our meetings. We're going to look at 3 buildings. The old fire station in Fairfield Center, the current fire station on Lawrence Ave, and the town office. After all this meetings, we're going to either sit in the fire department's conference room or the town office conference room to discuss the findings. And that's it for the Building Assessment Committee.
All right, thank you. Thank you. Okay, that closes our 4th order of business. 5th order of business is the consent agenda. These items are considered routine or standard business and therefore will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member so requests prior to consideration of this portion of the agenda, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered next on the agenda. Item 23-126, ordered that the Fairfield Town Council hereby waives the reading of and accepts the minutes for meeting number 2023-16, held on September 27th, 2023. Item 23-127, ordered that the Town Council hereby approves the Treasurer's warrant, number 73, General Fund, in the amount of $517,523.24, not limited to but including MSAD 49, Department of Motor Vehicles, and the Kennebec Water District.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries. 6th order of business, to take action on the following items of business as read by the council chair. Item number 23-128, ordered that the town council hereby confirms the town manager's appointment of Travis Leary as fire chief Emergency Management Director, and Forest Fire Warden, effective November 1st, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
Is there any discussion?
I have a question for the town manager. I know it's an appointment, but was this position ever open for other people to apply for?
It was advertised in-house first, and that if we didn't receive any applicants in-house of folks that wanted to step up into that position, that were capable of fulfilling that position, then it would have been advertised publicly. Since Travis Leary has been a member of our staff for over 13 years, it was very fitting for him to be able to move up into that position.
Because I know he works for Med One, so.
So what's his position now?
I can't remember, I think he's either a lieutenant or captain or something, I can't remember his exact title, but he's a full-time firefighter for us now. And the reason why it wasn't effective immediately is because he's also a union member, and you can't be a union member and hold a supervisory position at the same time in this particular agreement. So therefore, going to November 1st was giving us enough leeway to fill his shifts, because coming off shift was going to create a little bit of a burden within the department. So that gave us, the month gave us the opportunity to get that fixed before he came off shift.
Okay. So I assume once he takes this position, going to work on filling the open position?
We already are.
It's already full?
No, we're already working on
Okay.
that.
And
So
that
we've
would-
been continuously advertising because we were not completely at full staff or our full-time staff members anyway. Our shifts are filled. They're filled by per diems and folks that are on call. But we're actively working on that.
Okay.
We do have, recently have received, I think, 2 applications. So
All right. Because he was a part-time position, correct?
he was full.
Oh, he was full.
He was full.
Oh, okay. All right, good.
All right.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries. Item number 23-129, order that the town council hereby authorizes the purchase of a 2023 model year Dodge Ram 1500 SSV pickup truck up to the amount of $40,110 from Quirk Auto Group for the police department, and that said expenditure shall be paid from the police department equipment reserve account.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
I'm just wondering, was this on the plan for this year's budget, the 23-24 budget?
It's actually on the plan for July of this year, yes.
Okay.
So I thought, and correct me if I'm wrong here, Chief Gould, this was planned prior, and then it was pushed forward, and you repaired a couple of your older vehicles, right? You had some vehicles with transmission issues?
Yes.
That were supposed to temporarily replace what this new vehicle was gonna...
I think you're talking about the last November when we came here.
Yes.
When we asked.
That's
for-
exactly what I'm
Yes.
referring to.
Yes, and we deferred that, and we're back onto our normal rotation. Those vehicles, for instance, one of them, the Ford Cruiser that's running out there right now, the Ford, that has 157,000 miles, and the engine has 17,448 idle hours. So they're getting tired. There's very little value left to it. The top end knocks really bad when they start it, and we're just running it until the day that it dies. With the addition of the detective position and the school resource community officer position, that's taken one more vehicle out of the patrol. Those guys need vehicles to be able to drive as well. So we're starting to fall behind. Not too long ago, we had 2 vehicles out with tire issues. We had a truck that was out for a week, and that's the first issue we've had with a Ram that I can think of. Yeah, the very first issue we've had with a Ram pickup truck was a bad thermostat, and that was out of service for about a week and a half, and when I came into work, there was nothing there for me to drive.
Okay. No, and
And as far as repairs go on the older vehicles, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but as far as repairs go on the older vehicles, we're waiting to do those as it comes up. We sent them up to have the transmissions flushed. They're better, so we're trying to run them and keep them as long as we can and before we put any money into them.
Yep. And my next question, and I think you've answered this before, I just can't remember what you said, so I'm going to ask it again.
Yep.
Explain to me why the pickups? What,
They're bigger,
What's the-
they
what's
sit
the-
higher,
what's-
they run better in the snow, they get better fuel mileage. The service on them is far less. We do oil changes on them, we do brakes and pads on them, and nothing else. With the Fords, they are, in my opinion, a nightmare. We have, the service on some of my Fords are 7, 8 pages of services that we've done on them, brakes, we've done alternators, we've done, just, you name it, they've been replaced on them. These Rams, they just run. The guys hop in them, they fire them up, they drive them off, they run flawlessly. We've only had, like I said, one issue, and I think we're on a 7th or 8th Ram pickup truck. Because we started with a
Maybe, yeah.
2019.
Maybe, because there was a couple of years where we did 2.
We did 2, we were buying them, at the time, we were buying them so cheap that we were selling them for more than we were buying them for or almost exactly the same 2 years later.
They were making us money
So we
the
were
first
doing
3
this
years.
rotation.
right, but those days are,
What's that?
those days are gone.
Those days are history.
I mean-
They are coming back. I mean, the price has dropped a little bit on them.
Because these are 23s, this one you're talking about, 23.
Is it 23?
The 24s are on the way.
Yes. Yeah.
So as soon as you buy this, you're going to lose 10 grand.
I don't believe so. We
mean-
need the vehicle
I get
to be able
that.
to drive it.
And my next question about that, I mean, the biggest thing I can't figure out, and you remember, because you've been doing this a long time,
Yep.
when did police vehicles, whether it was state police, county, and the towns, like the Explorers and not, for years, those was all two-wheel drive. Why did we go away from that? Because the maintenance, the upkeep, the cost to buy on the two-wheel drives is so much less.
Well, no, I mean, when I looked up the price of Dodge, the Dodge, whatever it was, the prices were all pretty close to the same. And I don't think, I'm not positive, but I don't think Ford offers the 4-door cruisers anymore. They're all SUVs.
Right, but you can still get a two-wheel drive one. You don't have to have a four-wheel drive.
I have no
And it's
idea.
considered, normally, and I don't know about the public service side of it, but if we was talking normal vehicles, there's a cost savings of about 8 grand from two-wheel drive to four-wheel drive. And as many vehicles, you're looking at like 2 a year, right? That's your schedule?
One a year.
So
We put about 108,000, 110,000 miles on a vehicle a year, but that's spread out over 4
Right.
patrol vehicles. So our rotation is 1 a year, and we try to operate in a manner that every 4, 5, 6 years we can skip a year and not purchase.
So you only purchase one vehicle per year?
One
Right.
vehicle per year, yes.
And we didn't purchase one
And
last
we
year.
haven't purchased one in
And
bit.
so your oldest one is what year?
16 or 17. There's been a couple of years when we purchased 2.
Okay. So your total fleet number is 7?
For 12 employees.
4 patrol, the captain. My electric vehicle is now the detective's vehicle. Rather than purchase a vehicle, we just move that vehicle into that slot. Jericho Champagne took what would have been my vehicle, and he utilizes that when he works up at the school and he does transports and things.
Right, I knew that happened
Yep.
because there was some concern about the way that it's equipped as far as safety with transporting.
Having
People.
I will say personally, having driven, I started driving, my first cruiser I think was an 84 Ford LTD. 79, excuse me.
No, I'm
79.
talking about that electric Kia
yes.
that you have.
Yeah.
Because it's not really equipped to transport people.
It's not equipped.
And he is occasionally from,
Yeah.
so I knew there was some concerns with that,
Correct.
safety concerns.
Yeah.
And
We But he's not transporting prisoners.
No, just people.
He's helping with
Right.
community
So he has
access
the
stuff.
undercover detective
Yeah,
vehicle?
he's kind of taken on a huge burden during the day
Right.
shift from the patrol guys.
Right.
And he deals with mental health issues and drug issues, and he deals with people like that that need to be transported to the hospital. So he doesn't necessarily need all the time a full patrol vehicle with a cage in it. He has one in case he needs it.
I see. Because I remember we talked about that before, a previous meeting, and it was a concern, I thought, at that time.
Right. I was getting back to the four-wheel drive, and by saying I've driven older vehicles, the way we respond during snowstorms in the wintertime is completely different with a four-wheel drive
Yep.
pickup truck. I mean, it's night and day. The Ford Cruisers were great cars, but back when we drove them, nobody drove during snowstorms. So we didn't have to drive during snowstorms. There were no traffic accidents. There were no people out. Things are wildly different when we're out there in a snowstorm. And for the amount of money that we pay and the beefier suspensions on them, on these patrol-rated pickup trucks, I just think it's the way to go. And then you have to factor in as well the trade-in value when we're done. Crown Victorias, when we traded them in, if we got $2,500 for one, we were lucky. 25,000 probably for the trucks when we start getting rid of them, I would assume, is what we'll get. At least 18, depending on the condition that they're in.
We usually sell, and I
Yeah.
think have always sold to, actually, other municipalities. We try to give other municipalities first option before we do anything with, unless we're using it as a trade. We try to do those. So I think most of ours have sold actually to public works departments all over the state. So.
Right, well,
We drove down to look at, Public Works Director and I drove down to look at a used vehicle that was for sale. It was a 2016, perfect vehicle for us. But for the price we were paying for that, it would have been almost half the price of a new vehicle. And we'd have a 16-year, vehicle. It's not under warranty and all of the same issues that we have with the vehicles we're having now.
and so, how many miles a year do you put on these vehicles?
Patrol puts about between 96 and 110,000. I only went back so many years.
Okay. And that's a year?
A year, yes. They're operated, we're on duty 24 hours a day. There's two vehicles on the road nearly 24 hours a day.
All right, so kind of, and I'm not disputing any of this, I'm just trying to get my head wrapped around it. So walk me through this for a minute. You've got 7 or 8 vehicles, right?
Yep.
And you replace one a year, right?
Yep.
So that means if you put one in service this year, it's going to be in service for 8 years.
It'll be no, because with the 7 vehicles that we keep, like my vehicle, we've never had that vehicle before. So that's an addition to the fleet.
Okay, so
The captain's position, his vehicle, we're not going to replace that for a while. So that, he's going to continue to drive that until the mileage goes out of sight. Think of it as 5 patrol vehicles instead of 4. Every 5 years, that vehicle is going to be coming out of service.
okay, but that would come out of service with 500,000 miles on it,
No.
at 100,000 per year.
No, because 100, you're thinking 100,000 per vehicle. We are putting 100,000 even on
Spread out
those
over
5 vehicles.
Okay, now this is making more sense to me, okay.
Yeah.
So you put about 20,000 miles a year on a vehicle.
Correct. About a little bit more than that. I'm going to say probably 27,000.
Okay. All right, so you're getting rid of them at about 125 on them. That
Well,
would
the one we have right now has 157,000.
be, all right, because you skipped a year,
Yes.
right? I mean,
At some point, we skipped
Yeah.
a year. Yeah.
all right, this is making more sense to me now, okay?
Yeah.
Because do you see what I was thinking? I thought you meant 100,000 miles per vehicle per year,
100,000 miles per,
but that's the fleet average.
through the fleet average. Well, that's through the.
Well,
patrol
fleet mileage
average,
total,
yeah.
your average is about 20 or
Yeah.
25.
Yeah.
Okay.
When a vehicle is 5 years old, it usually moves down to the vehicle that I have, that's a take-home car.
Okay.
The current, the one with 157,000 miles one of the patrol officers really likes that vehicle. He wants to drive it until.
Okay. Now, what kind of warranty do you get on these?
Same 3-year 36, and then
do?
the engine has the same as whatever it would be.
550.
Yeah.
So it's 336, and then...
336 will be done in 14 months.
Right.
We'll hit
But-
36,000 in 14 months.
Right, but then there should be an additional, like a 560 powertrain warranty and things like that.
Yep.
Oh, all right.
Okay. Thank you, Larry.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question real quickly, Chief. With the purchase of a new vehicle, will you then be in an older vehicle, not using yours?
Pardon me?
If we get another vehicle, will you have one to drive?
Yes.
You will, okay. All right, thank you.
Yep.
That's it. All right, seeing no other questions or comments, all those in favor? Motion carries. Item number 23-130, ordered that the town council hereby signs a letter of support to the Kennebec Water District.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Question. Does this just covers Ridge Road to Joy Road or all of Fairfield? Because I know Nate Saunders came last week, mostly concerned about the 14 houses contaminated that surround Ridge Road and Joy Road. I'm just wondering, how about the rest of Fairfield, like Ohio Hill Road out to 201, things like that?
The portion of the project that Nate Saunders was discussing covered Ridge Road and the Joy Road, Howe Road area. That was a portion of the plan that Dirigo had created for the town. So it was that section is what he was talking about. This letter of support doesn't specifically state any particular section specifically, because the first line says, we, the Fairfield Town Council, submit to you this letter of support for the Kennebec Water District's efforts to explore and/or the expansion of public drinking water within the community of Fairfield. The middle section does talk about areas in which it does talk about the PFAS investigation. It does talk about the significant numbers of properties that have been affected. It does talk about 17 of the top 20 contaminated private wells in the state of Maine are located within Fairfield, and of that 17, 14 are located in the area of the Howe Road. That's it, it's period. And then it just goes on to say any efforts on your part that can be made to remediate the situation for our residents and our community's future should be fully supported. And if you think about that, so if say you take PFAS completely out of the mix, okay, which you easily could do in this letter of support, right? You could take that completely out of the mix. You could look at the first sentence and you could look at the second sentence. And it's no different than any other utility that's out there. And if any other utility came to town and said, we're gonna get a grant, but we need your support in order to expand our services within our community, your community. Most any of them, you probably would agree that anybody who wants to expand services to helpfully benefit our residents is something that you would support. It just so happens that the grant that they're going for is the Emerging Contaminants Grant, and therefore surrounds PFAS, which is the emerging contaminant, which is why that section is in there. But it doesn't specifically say that you support the Howe Road, the Joy Road, the Ridge Road. Doesn't say that you don't, but it doesn't say that you do either. It doesn't say that you don't support, 10 Lots Road or 139 or 201 or any of those places. So.
I just want to make sure it covers the whole Fairfield, just not one area.
All right, now, because I've been pretty clear where I stand on this, but that's irrelevant. We're supposed to represent the voters and the taxpayers. This has been decided. There was a non-binding referendum that went out, and the voters said no to expanding the water district in any form at that time.
It wasn't just any form, it was what was presented through
That point.
the report.
Right.
Which was inclusive of Fairfield.
Right.
And it had the different zones.
It was the plan that Dirigo put together.
That's right. This is offering an opportunity so that we could take segments of that plan and pursue public water.
Right, it's the same
But it's
thing.
not the whole entire plan, which was presented to the voters. This is saying, in my opinion, it's saying, what we can do is we can work on a small segment of our town and bring public water to them, and not these other places.
We don't even know who wants public water.
And that would be
In this
determined
town.
afterwards.
Why
But
would-
right now, we have to get people, the Kennebec Water District, to pursue
Grant.
public water in a specific area using grant money. Down the line, once that has happened, then you'd go and ask individual homeowners, do you want public water? That's their job.
Okay, so why do we, as a town or as a body, that's what this is now, asking, why do we have to make Kennebec Water District want to expand their business? Why wouldn't they just want to expand that on their own and take every opportunity that they could?
They have permission within town to do that.
And they've
They
got
just can't get
the
'em-
grant money coming.
Right.
And the other thing is...
We have to support the grant money that's coming, or else it's going
Yeah.
to cost the taxpayers big
Yeah.
bucks.
Is
and
that
it's
how
about
this works?
supply-
Yes.
And it's about supply and demand.
Right,
If
but
there's enough people that demand that, then they can make that supply of public water available.
And people are now getting, the wells are coming to a point where they're going to have to be revitalized and redone, and it's going to cost them out of their own pocket.
And
Or they may not be getting the federal funding for the filtration systems.
what do you mean, John, getting to the point where they're going to have to
Well,
redo
because
their
those,
wells?
every so often, those wells have to be totally,
Filtration systems have to be.
systems have to be totally redone, and the money initially was all paid for, but as it comes up and it has to be redone, the homeowners themselves are going to have to pay for it.
Right. And we've heard the federal government say, as well as the state government say, they don't know how long the money's going to last.
Right.
So, I mean, so this whole idea of going, that Nate Saunders suggested at our last meeting, is not the whole project that was put forth in November. Instead, we're looking at a segment of it.
I understand
Yeah.
that, but I also understand there's 12 houses on that road,
Right.
okay? And it's $6 million. Which would, easy math is $500,000
But that's not our
per house.
control. That is federal monies given to the water district.
that's just,
For them
Right,
to spend.
But you didn't let me finish.
Okay, go ahead,
okay?
I'm sorry.
So that's an expense of $500,000 per house if you get every house to sign up. If you only get half, it's $1 million per house, correct? Now, in my thought, it doesn't make sense economically at all. I mean, these people have every right in the world that those 12 homeowners on that road that have been affected by this have every right in the world to sue and make themselves whole and get their money that
there's
way.
more than 12 that goes up Ridgeville too.
No, but we're only talking 12 houses on the Howell Road.
No.
Which was this six,
No, Ridgeville
Talking
too
more,
are
plus
affected.
there's also,
There was
It's right now,
14.
Larry.
Yep.
I'm on the Ridge Road, my house is affected, so is 20 others.
right, and I understand that.
And I'm
But-
That's what we're
miles
talking
along
about.
The Howell Road.
Right, but what I'm saying is, the way you get reimbursed is you sue the people that caused you the harm.
well, then you'd be suing the Kennebec Water District.
Right.
Or-
Sanitary district.
The sanitary district.
rather.
Yes.
Because they're the ones that caused the problem in the first place.
Or the state of Maine.
Right.
'cause they're the ones
However,
that
I
access
feel
the process.
a body, we owe it to these citizens if we can pursue this. We don't know how it's going to pan out, but if we can give them an alternative and then put it in the hands of the Kennebec Water District, we are doing justice towards these families.
Correct.
We don't know what how it's going to turn out.
First, before they're saying, well, Kennebec Water District said, we're going to get the grant money, then they have to ask the house owners if they want to hook in or not.
Right, but this isn't a plan. This is just like a blanket statement
It is a blanket statement.
saying that you support.
We support them.
But it opens the
Anything.
door for
And we
future
support it.
grants. And you have to create that paper trail to get the grants going. And until there is a promotion from the municipalities to say that we support and are interested in this, it's a mute subject. With this paper in hand, then there's viable interest. And then the water district can take it one step further and go for the grants. Correct me if I'm wrong, Michelle, if you want to add.
You're correct. So, I mean, you gotta look at it this way. This Saturday, 14th of October, it will be 3 years since the DEP called my office to tell me about the PFAS issue up on Nice Corner. And they needed help because they had 12 people here in town, and of those 12 homes, nobody would answer the phone or answer the door. They didn't believe them. Okay, that was 12, 3 years ago. When the EPA changes their guidelines, we're going to have probably close to 300 to 350 communities, wells here in town that are contaminated and require filtration systems. When they were at about 150 filtration systems, the DEP sent us a letter just prior to when the town voted on this study back in June of '22 that said we will not fund these filtration systems forever. The EPA's new recommendation came out and said, we're going to put federal money into this to help, but we're only going to put it into public drinking water systems. And the only way we're going to give you federal money to help your private wells is if it's a temporary stopgap before the public water gets to you.
Yep.
Okay, so it's been 3 years. It's been a year since the vote, and over a year since, well, over a year since the report was done. It's been over a year since the vote was done. And not one person has come up with another solution for our problem with our contaminated wells here in the town of Fairfield, other than the state of Maine funding filtration systems for the rest of people's lives. And that is not going to happen. So in 10 years from now, 20 years from now, do we all want to be sitting here going, well, I'm sorry, little Johnny, but we had the opportunity to get fresh water to your home and we chose not to do anything? And yes, the federal government was going to pay 90% of it, or maybe even 100% of it, and we chose not to do anything. Because 400 people one day said, no, I don't want to be told I mandatorily have to connect to public water. Because out of the 4,000 people that we have that are registered voters here in town, about 10% of them showed up, and only 52% of those voted no. This letter doesn't say you support any specific plan whatsoever. It only mentions PFAS because it needs to in order to meet the hash marks and the check boxes that you have to get in order to get these grants to be given to these people. It doesn't say, and they haven't said, whether they're even going to go forward and do a project at all. It may be that they'll apply for these funds and use it to put on their own filtration system just to bring the PFAS levels down for public drinking water that already exists. But to sit here and say, as a council, you don't appreciate or won't support any expansion of a utility in our community means if you come here as a business and you want to be on 201, but you need water because you need a hydrant, what you're saying is, don't come.
That's
Because the town said we don't support the expansion of drinking water.
That's not what I'm
That is
saying.
what you said at the very beginning of this.
What
That's
I'm-
exactly what you said. The town voted that we don't support this.
Yep.
If you are going to say that, then you need to know that no new commercial entity is probably going to go anywhere in our community that isn't already served.
Right.
And they're not easy things to say, and they're not easy things for people to hear. But the EPA is going to declare Fairfield Center a hazardous waste location. Because they are going to say this chemical is hazardous waste. We can't even remediate it. We have to do something.
And I understand exactly everything you're saying. You got to keep in mind that where I live is right in the middle of all of it. Okay?
Yeah. And I understand that.
All right?
And nobody is
And-
saying
and
with
it
this
is.
letter that you have to do anything. With this letter.
The way I read this, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's saying that we, as a body here, when we sign this, we support expansion of the water district
Yep, that's exactly what it says.
in any form.
Yep.
Right, so that they can get
That
their...
is what you
okay,
said.
so they can-
And that's the part that throws me, that any form part. I would much rather sign something that spells out a plan or something.
Nope.
Do you know what I mean? Instead of just a blanket statement.
So what sort of expansion could you think of that you wouldn't support, that the water district would do?
Let him come after the fact.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know, because that's kind of a, I could pick out anything and say I wouldn't support that, or I would support it.
Right.
But, I mean, as far as like business, for example, in the business zone, up 201,
Yeah.
I think that part, believe it or not, but business will expand that water as the business grows, and they'll pay for it
Half
themselves.
of Shawmut, stops in Shawmut, past that, to Nice Corners, nothing.
Right.
I
All
understand.
businesses want to come to past Shawmut.
I understand that, but you haven't got the
Can't do it.
corridor full
Can't do it.
from here to Shawmut
Right.
yet.
So,
And as it fills, it'll expand.
so Larry, what I'm hearing you say is that you are concerned because this is any plan that
Correct,
would come out of,
correct.
Okay.
That's my only concern.
and I understand that part. However, when I'm looking at the situation that was brought forth by Nate Saunders at our last meeting, and the request for us just to write a letter that would support
Supporting them.
Kennebec Water District possibly going into a program where they could increase public water. That's all that they're saying is, please take a look at us, if
He
that
wa-
happens.
He was looking for a letter to support a possible expansion to the Howell Road.
And the Howe Road, or in that vicinity, in that vicinity.
In that vicinity.
But we.
Okay.
What,
But
like,
that's not what this says. This just says
It's-
any expansion.
It's open to, actually, if you take a look at the last sentence of the middle paragraph, it says 17 of the top 20 contaminated private wells in the state of Maine are located within Fairfield, and of that 17, 14 are located in the area of the Howe Road. That is showing that there is a need for public water. That's all it's doing. And all we're saying is, please keep us in mind if you're going to spend the grant money, because we do have a need in Fairfield, especially in the Howe Road area, for an expansion of public water. That's all it's saying. We're not committing to a plan. We're just saying, if you're using the grant money on the expansion, think of us first.
Okay, on the
That's it.
On the Ridge Road there, Larry, I know Lower Ridge Road has some, I'm on Upper Ridge Road. One house on the Ridge Road has public water. I'm the sixth house from the edge of the Ridge Road. We don't have public water, we have private wells. I'm a mile from the house road, downhill. I know these people up that way, and all the farmers around. So it's not just this. I know everywhere is affected, but this place was the most area affected. So this is just saying, we will look into a plan. This is not saying, oh, we're going into it, we're just telling Quebec Water District, we are looking into it to see if they can do anything. They might not apply for a grant, they might not be able to get any grants. But
Can I say something?
Yeah, Bruce.
Sure. So I'm on the board of directors with the Water District.
That-
The
I
Water
was-
District is not going to apply for any of this grant money unless the town has some sort of this letter to be the lead. The Water District doesn't want to expand pipes. They can't afford to expand pipes. Correct me if I'm wrong, if you know, Michelle. It's either $60 million or $90 million in emergent contaminant money.
About $6 million a year.
Yeah.
Technically, it's $4 million, but they have some extra money that they received from the Fed, so they think they're going to do $6 million.
Right. This letter is just going to get the ball rolling at the Water District meetings with the board. May not even decide to move forward with it, may decide to apply for the money, as Michelle said, for a filtration system. It's just to get the ball rolling. The board, we had the same letters from Nate. They didn't want to shoot up to the Howe Road just for one. They wanted to start exploring it, but they won't without,
This might not happen until another 10 years, Bruce?
it's possible.
Yeah.
And it may never happen, and you
Right.
don't have to accept the grant. If you get the money, we can turn it down. You know, it's all going to come back and you'll get the vote then.
But they won't even explore.
But they won't take one single step
You
without
know,
this.
why would the Water District want to jump forward with expanding without the support of Fairfield? Was the main consensus around the 10 members on the board that day.
Okay.
That was it. They're not going to move without you folks and your support.
Thank you, Bruce.
You
All right. Thank you, Bruce.
Are we ready to take a vote?
Yes.
I think so.
Okay. All those in favor of signing the letter of support to the Kennebec Water District, raise your hand. Unanimous. Motion carries. Item number 23-131, ordered that the town council hereby considers and accepts planning board member Charles Matthews' request to transition from regular member to alternate member for the remainder of a term set to expire at the date and time of the town council organizational meeting in 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor? Unanimous. It passes. Item number 23-132, ordered that the town council hereby considers appointment transition for the planning board, David Fernal, from alternate to regular member for the remainder of a term set to expire at the date and time of the town council organizational meeting in 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor? Motion carries. Item number 23-133, ordered that the town council hereby considers and accepts planning board member Terry Michaud's resignation as regular member serving a term set to expire at the date and time of the town council organizational meeting in 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none? All those in favor? Motion carries. Item number 23-134, ordered that the town council hereby considers appointment transition for the planning board, Maxwell Kenny, from alternate to regular member for the remainder of a term set to expire at the date and time of the town council organizational meeting in 2026.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carries. Item number 23-135, ordered that the town council hereby declares a vacancy on the planning board for an alternate member for the remainder of a term set to expire at the date and time of the town council meeting in 2027.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? And do we have anybody
That's a long wait.
planned for that?
Yeah.
No, so what we'll do is we'll advertise for that now, and folks will be able to sign up for that.
Okay.
Good.
What this did is this moved both of our alternates that we currently have up into the regular member
Regular one,
positions.
yep.
Of course, we had one member who went down to an alternate position, and then that left a vacancy, so.
So it's just
we'll
one
advertise for
person
that.
resigned and one just went down alternate and just switching?
Yes.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah. So anybody who's interested in the planning board should look to fill out an application, volunteer application for that. And eventually, once we get one of those, that'll come back to the council so you can do
Okay, now, the planning board is a very interesting group. Since when I was not a councilor, I was on the planning board. They do a lot of planning for land use, access, and everything else. So this is a very eventful committee.
Important.
And they're currently doing a lot
Very
of work.
important,
A lot of meetings throughout the course of the next several months with KV, in conjunction with KV-COG, to revamp our land use ordinance for the alternative housing.
Yeah, they're meeting
units,
tonight.
That kind of stuff, yeah.
Okay. No comments? All those in favor? Motion carries. Seventh order of business, council workshop and other business. And first up is Economic and Community Development Council's Mill Island Park redevelopment plan. I would like to recognize and thank Garvin Donegan and Sabrina Jandro from the Central Maine Growth Council. They have been our guiding light in the development of this redevelopment plan. So you have before you the plan itself. It's still in draft form. And for the purpose of those listening and on Zoom land, I'm going to go through some of these pages. Michelle is able to put up the document on the TV screens. Garvin and Sabrina are here for some moral support, and if I forget anything,
I'll let you know, too.
and Peter will let me know, too. So first of all, you need to know that it's taken over 24 months for this plan to come to fruition. And through the process, there were over 23 public meetings, which also included our Economic and Community Development Committee meetings. We had 2 community surveys. We had a variety of different brainstorming activities that went from a SCOT analysis, mapping exercises, and looking at different charrettes, as Garvin would say. And over the past year, the plan has actually come together. And within this document, we're going to take a look through for the next few minutes so that you can see what it looks like in its rough form, but also a little bit of definition as to what it also includes. So, for those that don't know, Mill Island Park encompasses about it's a little over 5.5 acres of land. The residential part of Mill Island is about 6.7 acres of land. And we decided through the course of the 24 months, because Mill Island has such a historic significance to our community, it's also going to be part of our future growth and development opportunities. So here we go.
As I was going to say, too, it goes back a lot further than just 24 months.
Right, it goes all the way back to the late 1970s. So, looking at our items through the process and within the last year, we divided the Mill Island Park into 6 zones. And of those 6 zones, Zone 1, which is what we call the gateway to Mill Island Park, it's where the parking is, and Zone 4, which is the tip of the island. In the surveys, those 2 zones seem to have gotten the most comments. So just so that the public knows that. And so why are we doing this? So let me look at, I'm full of tabs today. Mill Island Park is a place in our town that has a lot to offer for our future. It has a playground. It has seating area. It has signage, which will also need to be improved. We have security cameras already in place. And we have parking. None of it is perfect. We also have a lot of vegetation that is being taken care of as we speak, but it's a multi-year process. So why Mill Island Park? Mill Island Park is part of our downtown, and it will be a draw for people to come in. It has a lot of potential for economic viability within our town. It is a destination that people could come to. And we want people to come to it and utilize the trails and utilize the possibility for events. Moving on.
Where are you at? Which page are you on?
I am on page 21.
Holy Hannah.
Wow, you look good.
She is moving.
Now, people need to know, too, that this, if you want to read the document in draft form, you can go to our town website. No, not in the town website yet.
It hasn't been made available to the public.
It has not been made, but it will be soon. We'll work on that. The economic impact of redeveloping Mill Island Park is crucial to our downtown. Last year, in 2022, there was $74,732,144 in total retail sales from our downtown. Most of those were in transportation, construction, and commercial business operations. With that amount of money in 2022, if we go and take a look at what a redeveloped Mill Island Park could do, we could get more economic growth within our downtown area. So because of that, what can we look at? We can look at increased tourism, we can look at a rise in property values, and we can also see a boost in tax revenue. So I am now on page 22, Michelle. All set? Through the redevelopment plan, we are recommending the following: that there is an enhanced signage and marketing campaign that will follow. And we're also introducing new amenities, maybe, and again, this is all depending on money and grants, but there's the possibility of a dog park, a kayak launch, an improved playground. We're looking at being able to host more vibrant events. This is not going to be a water park. People thought it was a water park. It's not a water park, but we could get like some kind of structure in there to provide shade, and we could have people going there and doing events. We could have the possibility of fostering local partnerships, which would mean networking with other areas to draw people in. And we could also start on a branding campaign, which I hope will happen, because right now Fairfield does not have a brand. We used to be known as the furniture capital of the world in the 1800s. We were then a mill town working with still wood products, and now we technically have nothing other than we have our Hutamaki, we have
Well, except for the piece that's written on our sign in the downtown
Right.
that says we're the crossroads of Maine.
the crossroads of Maine, yes, which technically we could be. All right, Michelle, I'm moving on. So I'm on page 27 now.
I know, but your 27 and my 27 are not
Vision
the same.
and goals. Vision and goals.
They're not the same.
Okay,
Because
so,
I'm still in like market analysis recommendations.
okay, so keep going. You'll catch up to me. So on the.
Added more pages.
Yeah. So the vision and goals, this is a 10-step plan to redevelop Mill Island Park. And it includes the following recommendations. And I'm reading these for people listening. 1, to transform Mill Island Park into a community gathering space for visitors of all ages. To connect Island Park to Fairfield's growing downtown corridor. To improve accessibility to the Island Park's trails and waterfront. 4, to prioritize the creation and enhancement of scenic overlooks and focus on the island's western, northern, and eastern waterfront areas. Number 5, create an event space that highlights the island's open space historical character and embraces Fairfield's visitors and residents. Number 6, build and improve linkages to area trails, including the Cattail Trail and surrounding Kennebec-Messalonskee trail systems. Number 7, evaluate existing parking availability to accommodate future community events and gatherings. Number 8, to incorporate signage that provides wayfinding and educational opportunities throughout Mill Island Park. Number 9, enhance Mill Island Park's landscape by adding trees, shrubs, and other vegetation to provide shade and improve aesthetics, including the management of overgrowth of invasive vegetation to allow for open views of the Kennebec River. And number 10, to develop a maintenance plan for Mill Island Park that ensures all amenities are properly cared for and maintained over time. So within this document, you'll see these 10 steps. And through it, you're going to see a design guidelines and development standards. And I'm just going to read the headings, Michelle, so you know. Best management practices and safety. There's also an implementation plan, and again, all of this is still in draft form. And above all, we're going to be looking at Mill Island Park as a place to go for years to come. So none of this can be possible without the work of the community. And we've had the community involved today. I think of you, Ellis, getting the community involved. And once this plan is approved by the council, then the community has to get involved and we'll get the ball rolling. And we do this by working together and to bring the vision to life for Mill Island Park. A lot of people, Steve Kirsten, I don't know if any of you know who Steve Kirsten was, but he's since passed away, but in the 1980s, he took the lead on developing Mill Island Park. And 30, 40 years later, it's still not fully developed.
Right.
And it's time for it to be. And so that people will think of Fairfield and say, oh, they're the ones that have this really cute park and with a great walking trail system that's ADA accessible. And that's all in the vision.
Right, and we had also set up that we would like to, at some point, put a bridge across.
That was one of the concerns that was brought up in the surveys and in the public meetings, was the fact that there needs to be another form of egress to Mill Island Park. And again, it all depends on funding, it all depends on priorities, and we're ready to go there. And it will take the community to see it through with commitment.
Yep.
So that's all I have to say. I'm going to turn it over to Garvin and Sabrina. Did I miss anything?
Thank you, Stephanie. I don't think Garvin Donegan, Central Maine Growth Council, and my colleague Sabrina Jandrew here tonight. Good evening, councilors, Michelle, members of the public. Stephanie, councilor, you really hit everything so well, but just would be remiss a few points to underscore. Number one, just stepping back interpersonally, what an incredible asset that this community has. It's a truly unique urban park island right off the downtown. There's so few communities that have something like this. So it's really been a special project, I think, for the committee, our site walks, and some of our late night meetings. So number one, just thank you to the committee, to Michelle, and to members to the public. As was highlighted, over 23 public meetings now, well over 23, a number of wonderful workshops, mapping exercises, site visits that really inform this document and plan. The document, as you're kind of doing a scroll, is the narrative section, is approximately 56 pages. The remaining documents about 80. I think the committee really at the beginning discussed that Goldilocks zone for a document that wasn't just extremely long, wasn't extremely short, but was readable, it had visual communication, but it was also data rich, but maybe we pushed that data to the appendix. So really the document, for those of you that have not read it yet, is a reflection of what's there. It's a blueprint and an inventory of what is there today, the historical retrospective, and then really us organizing what we've heard from the community and some perspectives for growth. Some of the items that Councilor read are really meant to be at times broad to open up planning perspectives for the future. I'd also note that one of our measures of success is the ability to say that this plan evolved and changed over time, because for us, that's a reflection of community input and listening. So this is still an opportunity, ample opportunity, to continue to have the plan evolve and change. We do want to come to an end with this project too and move into an implementation phase, but all to say, for folks listening at home, still ample opportunity for input. A few highlights have already been covered, but I guess a few of our favorite sections, we're digging into the historical retrospective of the old historical facilities that are there. The park itself, we broke down and found old mapping on different zones that have been created. We kind of ran with this in a planning exercise to organize the planning methodology, the planning public input, but also to think about it from a design ethos perspective. We looked at not just the park itself, but the entire island, and did a housing analysis on the housing stock that's there to better understand the park, the island, and how it integrates with the downtown. There's a brief market analysis section, which speaks to some socio-demographic as well as business statistics and what this might mean in terms of the broader economy. I'd also note that we do have 3 concurrence letters in there from the state of Maine relative to environmental features, habitat, and historical. Those clearance letters came in to inform us on the existing conditions, but those are also letters that are required in federal and state funding opportunities. So we made sure to kind of begin to prepare for potential federal or state funding. I would note one of our key goals is a looping trail, and this is something we heard from the community, is for passive recreational enjoyment, an ADA trail that goes alongside the natural features of the park, is to create and further develop a looping trail. That map is still in development. You'll see some minor modifications to that continue to occur, so please stand by on that. And then would share that the committee has also been diligent and not showing in this plan on public sector funding opportunities, as well as a draft working budget on how we may implement this project. So ultimately, so pleased that we're here tonight. It's been a multi-year planning process driven by an awesome committee and wonderful leadership by Michelle and counselors. These projects are hard. You're wrangling data. You're trying to draw on community input. There was late night meetings, and ultimately this plan reflects the community. I think that's so far what we're most proud of.
Thank you, Garvin.
Yeah, happy. Any questions or comments?
I just want to thank Garvin and Sabrina with their guidance. As a part of the committee, we couldn't do it without you. We'd be still banging heads. I just want to thank you.
Yeah, we couldn't have done it together, so without each other.
Anybody from the audience have any questions about this?
Because this will link in our plan for the Mill Island and downtown MDD plan. So to link them together, because funding can come together on that to help our downtown and Mill Island too. So.
All set.
Yeah.
Is there anything that the council had visioned to be in the plan that is not in it? Because again, this is a draft.
Right.
Maybe said once the final bits of mapping and stuff are in place, then it's going to come back to the council for you to adopt as an official plan. That doesn't mean there isn't still time, but if you, as you're going through it, or now that we've talked about it a little bit and you let that sink in, everybody always thinks of something when they're driving home at night. So if there's anything that you think that should be in here that is not, or have a question about something, please reach out to myself, or obviously Councilor Thibodeau as chair of the Economic Development Committee, so that we can make sure that gets included for when this does finally come back before you for approval.
And when do you think that might be, Michelle?
Well, it's a very good question, but
I know we're still waiting for a couple maps.
I think we thought that it was probably going to be within, we got like a 30-day range, didn't we? We thought.
Yeah, I would expect we'll have, so we're waiting for an additional map, like with GIS, Geographical Information System. So that's a last item that we are waiting for, but I'm sure we can lever that up. I'm guessing, 30 days seems right.
Right.
project management, double your time frame. So
Right, we're only meeting once in November, if I remember correctly.
Right.
So maybe in the November meeting, we'll shoot for that.
We'll shoot for that.
Yep.
Middle of November, we'll have this done.
Yeah.
Well, let's shoot for towards the beginning of November, but, yeah.
that sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it should be. I know that there was some conversation with the folks doing the mapping
Yeah.
just last week, wasn't it? Or it was right after our last meeting about pushing that. so.
Right. And Larry, you're probably wondering, where's the money and how much this is going to cost? And we don't have any numbers in there because of the changing costs within our economy. And that would be a whole separate section.
Yeah, with this plan, also till we went for the map, this would probably be a guide for funding, correct?
Right, this is the guide for fund. This opens the doors for grants. And so there's no mention here, but this is the background and the future
Just the
for the
beginning.
Mill Island. So that's how we're going to go and get the grants and create a capital campaign eventually.
Right.
So, but then, when you look through it, we don't talk about money. Did you notice
I
that?
read through the whole thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I was being very quiet, because, I mean,
We felt that mountain line.
I can appreciate how much work was put into this by everybody involved. I really and truly can.
A lot of late fees.
And, I mean, I like a lot of your ideas, I really do. And it's a first step,
Exactly,
and I get that.
yeah.
And I will only push back when it comes time to spend the money. I
But this
like
is
people that have a
like-
vision, and they know where they're going.
Yeah.
And then we'll talk about the money when it comes time.
That's exactly right, yeah. So, if there's no other questions, then we'll move on. Thank you very much, Irvin.
Thanks, Gavin.
All right, so, other council business? John?
Nothing?
No. Larry?
Just real quick, I want to kind of open up an old wound here that left over from last week a little bit, last meeting. Has there been any progress made, Michelle, on what we talked about as far as the evaluation, the temporary evaluation and the mill rate?
There was a conversation last Tuesday with Jay when he was here, and he had spoken to Rob Duplessis, who owns the company that does our assessing, and that we would be working towards that, but no update on what any action is going to be.
Okay.
Well, that information will be going to that website, because on the town website, there is assessing, so they should be putting that information on that. Correct?
Well, yes. When it comes to the reval and all of that, they're working on counting right now exactly where they're going to start. So basically what they're going to do is, the goal is to take the reval by map, right? So they'll take one of our tax maps, right? The town's broken up into all kinds of different map numbers. They'll take one of those, and then based upon how many lots are in that map, is what they'll do. So the goal is to try to get it divvied up, so it's about the same equal amount of lots in each year, so that, we're not gonna necessarily do all of in town at once. It might be that it would be all of map 1, but it also might be map 5 or 4, or that kind of stuff. So we'll have that list available for folks, and that way they'll know. And also what people should be looking for, because we don't want anybody to be shocked when somebody comes out and they start walking around their house with a tape measure. So all of that stuff, so we're working on that documentation. But as far as the assessment ratio and the 59% and the ratio certification, there's no current update on that as to what exactly we'll be doing with
Right, because
that.
that's what I was
Yeah,
asking.
and I thought that's what you were asking,
Yes.
yeah. So no, there's no exact update on that, but that conversation did start last week.
And I have another question about that. The reimbursement rate that comes from Augusta, will say like homestead exemption, tree growth. How is that figured?
So
Is that based on an average mill rate for the whole state, or is it each individual town's mill rate, or is it something completely different?
So it depends. I guess it depends on what you're asking. So,
Well, the
so
20,
see
the 20, the 25,000
Yep.
that every,
And by law, the state reimburses a certain percentage. That's by law.
right, but I'm wondering how they get to the
I don't know how they
percentage.
got to that. I think they got to that based upon a compromise between municipalities and the state budget, because it used to be that when the homestead exemption was given to residents, the state funded that 100%. And then that was slashed over the years, and then fought for and brought back, so that it could be increased, and was supposed to continue to steadily increase. I did hear that there was some sort of break that was put on it because of the locking in of your taxes, the over 65 lock-in piece. But now that that's gone, so I'm not sure what that's going to do to change things for the future. But that's covered under state statute.
But that's not what I'm asking.
Yeah.
What, so if you got 100%
Yep.
homestead exemption,
Yep.
it would be 25,000 often, we'll say you had a $100,000 property,
Yeah.
right? So you'd pay tax on 75 at the mill rate. Now, what I'm asking is, how does the town get reimbursed on the 25,000? Is it each town's mill rate, or is there just,
No, so there's a
and I'm trying to determine if there's an advantage to
There's
a
a
lower
form that has to be
valuation?
filed with the state so that they know in our calculation, which is created, what happens. So a certain percentage of that 25,000 is reimbursable by the state. Then that's set by law. So right now, I can't remember what the number is off the top of my head. It's somewhere between 60 and 70% for this year. It's somewhere in there. What will happen is that then in turn, that's how much they reimbursed us. Okay, so for easy math, say if it was 25%, $25,000, the state reimburses 75% of that value. So you take the $25,000 as it applies to every property in town that is eligible for it, and you get that number. But not everybody gets $25,000 because not everybody in town has a $25,000 property. Right? So you
Correct.
can only get up to the amount of what your property
Right.
value is.
That's why some are
So
zero.
that comes out of our tax commitment process. That number gets reported to the state. And the state takes that number, because it's in our commitment, in the commitment paperwork, it says what the homestead value is. They reimburse us, say it's 75% of that number.
Right, but, no, I just want to stop you right there.
Yep.
Do they reimburse the 75% of the number, or is it just the amount that the town would have collected from the tax on the 75%?
Well, that's how the number is created, is the amount that we would have collected.
So we'll say if it's, somebody has 10,000 and they have, or 100,000, they have a mill rate
Right.
of 22.
Right, so what happens is that we get a list of homestead exemptions and what that total is. Okay? Same thing with all of our exemptions, right? We also get a list of what our veterans exemptions are, what our blind exemptions are, all of those pieces. Those get reported to the state of Maine, and then they reimburse us through that process. It comes through, I believe, the municipal evaluation return, but don't quote me, because I don't have the paperwork in front of me. And then we get reimbursed from the state for that process. Now, with the way it works with the homestead exemption, is we actually only get a portion of that in this fiscal year. We'll get the remainder of it next fiscal year. So we don't even get it all up front. It comes in slowly, and the remainder, right, of that exemption that's not funded by the state is made up by the rest of the taxpayers in town, so you end up ultimately paying more. And so what then happens, so based upon the assessment ratio, we have to change what the homestead exemption is. So that's why if you look at your tax bill, it's not $25,000 this year, it's the 19.5.
Correct.
Because we're not allowed to give you that exemption at 100%, because we're not at 100%,
Right.
okay?
But what can you get the information on the rate that the state reimburses.
Well, if you give me just 1 second, I can look
And-
at the law.
And the reason why, I'm trying to figure out whether there's an advantage to have a low assessed value or a high assessed value. And I think, John, you can probably answer my question, because you've been doing this a long time, but,
The lower says, it has to be based upon market value. It's not strategic.
Exactly.
and I get that part.
Well, then why did you
But
ask
if,
that question?
if they, if the check that comes from Augusta is based on a 22 mill rate, or
No, the mill rate has,
the mill rate has nothing
the
to
only
do
thing
with
the
it?
mill rate has anything to do with is the value in which it's created, right?
Right.
So, meaning $25,000 obviously times a mill rate of 10 is different than a mill rate of 20.
20, right.
Right, and that's what I'm asking.
Right.
Is that when Augusta reimburses this money, do they use the town mill rate, or is there a different figure that they use?
No, it's
Because
whatever the
they're
number
only,
is based upon our mill rate.
they're only
It's
gonna
our-
re,
It's based on the town,
it's each individual town?
Yes.
Mill rate?
absolutely.
Okay, that's what I was asking.
It's the number that is created from the commitment.
Right,
Okay, so we know when the tax commitment is done, what the value of the homestead exemptions are in town. That is taken into effect when the mill rate is calculated. It's part of the calculation.
right, that's what I was asking, if they
Yeah, no,
used
it's part of
each
it.
individual town's mill rate, or if they just
No,
took
it's
an
the
average?
Individual town.
Okay. So there's a, all right. All right, so that answers that part of it for me.
All set, Larry?
And we're at, what percentage of the market evaluation we're at? 58, 59%?
We're low.
Came in at 59.
Very low.
We're at 59?
And we should be at 70.
Well, we should be at 100.
Well,
What-
basically, we're shooting for 70.
Now, we get a 10%, right?
You get 10% of the percentage that you're at. Okay, so
10% of
So at 59,
59.
you get 10% of 59 that you can add to that number.
Right.
So
So 6,
say 6.
right?
Right.
So we can certify at 65, which is still below the 70 that's required by law.
Okay. So what I was getting at is, we're very close to where we need to be. We're not that far off.
No, we're not. But we're about halfway from 100%, which is
Right.
where we should be.
Right, but if the reimbursement rate is based upon the mill rate,
Yeah?
right?
But the value that
There's-
you
there's
get
a
is
dis-
based upon your assessment
Right,
ratio.
but there's a distinct advantage to having a high mill rate and a low assessed value as opposed to the other way. Like, we'll say
Still comes out.
22 of 100, okay?
I don't. Your mill rate is still based upon the amount of money that you have to raise.
I understand that. I
Right.
understand. And
So
I
what
understand that
what you're
better.
saying is that we'd be better off, because if we like gave you a low value and
High mill rate.
up the mill rate way up high, that doesn't work.
No, what I'm saying is the advantage is to get as close to the 71 as possible.
Well, we
There's
need to
better
get to
advantages to
100%.
get as close to the 100 as possible,
Exactly.
but
But
what we'd be
wouldn't-
looking at doing for the temporary fix, just because of the cost table adjustments that we would be doing, or whatever adjustments that we do, however that flushes out, is the goal is to get it as close to the fact of being at that 70 while we work on this reval process, so we're not penalized
Well,
by other pieces.
Because what I was thinking, right, is at 71, and this isn't exact, but you're eligible, say, for 20,000 homestead exemption.
Okay?
Okay.
I mean, I haven't done the math.
And it's like about, we're at 19.5 now.
Yeah, but
So-
no, we haven't certified at 19.
Wait, just follow me here for a second.
We're at like 78% right now at the 19.5,
Okay.
right this minute.
Okay.
So at 70%, it's
so-
going to be even less
so,
than
okay,
that.
so at 70, we would be at, say, 18.5, right? I mean, just,
Okay, if your math is correct.
I'm not
like, I don't
saying it's
know the
exact,
math.
but it's close. So we're at
Yeah.
18.5, and we're at a mill rate of, say, 20, which means you get a reimbursement rate of 33, correct?
No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. The state's percentage in which they reimburse the municipality has no bearing on what the actual assessment ratio is, except for when it comes to being below 70 in the penalty. So the law right now, as I just looked it up, says for property tax years beginning on April 1, 2020 and April 1, 2022, 70% of the just value of all homestead exemptions under the subchapter must be included in annual determinations of sales valuations. The reimbursement rate, that's not it. I'm not looking at the right thing. That's not it. I don't know. I don't have it in front of me. So the amount that the state must reimburse municipalities, that percentage, is within the law itself, right? It says they have to reimburse X amount of dollars. And we know that. We apply that adjustment to the tax commitment when it is done, right? So say the state's gonna reimburse us at 72%. There's a way to make an adjustment to the calculation tables for the mill rate that says we'll get reimbursed from the state at 72%. So
Right.
if we did, let me see if I can bring it up in front of you.
I mean, truthfully, I got the answer I was looking for tonight anyways, is how they figured the reimbursement, and it's based off in the mill rate. So, I mean, that's where I wanted to start.
Well, it's based off the mill rate based upon our assessment ratio, which is what we charge it at.
Right, and I
And then the
understand.
state only pays a percentage of that process.
But like I said, if you could get that information, how that the percentages and all that for me, I'd appreciate it, that'd be great.
Right,
For,
good.
you know what I mean? That way, I'm not keeping everybody here half the night.
You should have asked me about this afternoon when you were in.
Well,
I could have had it for
I
you
had,
tonight.
this afternoon, I was in work mode, and I was more concerned about how much cars cost.
So you're all set, Larry?
Or I was concerned with trying to pay my taxes, so here we are.
Okay, so we're all set then, right?
I am, yes, I got the answer I was looking for tonight.
All
But
right.
if you could get that other stuff for us, that'd be great.
Sure.
Okay.
Can you send me a list of what it is you need now? Because I don't know as if I remember.
Yeah,
Okay.
I can.
Peter?
Yes, I'm just looking for an update on the community center grant.
We did not get it for the stove, and there will be another round, I think, that will be looked at. It has to be filled out this autumn, and then we'll apply again. The overall gist of what I got from it for our denial was because we didn't have a firm enough plan worked out, and that will be
Do we
remedied
have
for
to
the
wait
next
the
round.
grant, or can we look at some other avenue to...
Like ARPA money, or
To pay for the stove, because I know it's been down, what, 3 years?
3 years? Yeah.
And losing, I know people are asking me why we do events.
Yeah,
We're losing
we're losing money,
money on events.
yeah.
So-
Maybe that could be a discussion item at the next meeting, Michelle.
What was that?
The community center stove replacement.
Upgrade to tables and chairs and things like that.
Yeah.
Maybe upgrade for the community center.
Yeah,
Because I know, next question is, I know, I know was a lot of us committee members and have plans for committees. I know you're on the committee, I'm on 2 committees, John and Matt's on the committee. We've been reporting on that. I'm just wondering, I know Larry mentioned one time back in June, August, about a committee. Is it a committee or action plan, or?
What we decided there is it was better to do that internally
Yeah.
than to form an actual committee, because probably 90% of the work is already being done. And we'll just let that develop organically with a little push every once in a while. And it seems to be going forward. I mean, more people show up for the meetings.
Yes, it does. Yes.
I mean, the proof is in, we'll see, we have an election coming up. Hopefully, we can compare, and it's an off year, I get it, but hopefully, we can compare those numbers to other off years, and the numbers will be higher. Then we'll know we're going in the right direction. If it's working, there's no sense to do anything different. It's only if it's not working, then we have to look at something different.
Right.
So that's where we're at.
There's upcoming events coming up, October 21st, the Granger's having the craft fair, because I know it's the same time as the library having a little event. And the next day, at Sarah's Cabin, they're having a fall festival there with vendors and music and things like that at Sarah's Cabin on Main Street.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Michelle?
I just wanted to clarify, I did find a copy of the law, so it's Title 36, Section 685, which is actually listed duties of the assessor reimbursement by the state, that for property taxes, beginning on April 1st, 2022, it's 73% reimbursement of the taxes lost by reason of the exemption, and then under the homestead. And then the next statement says that for property taxes beginning on the year or after April 1, 2023, the percentage of taxes lost by reason of the exemption under Section 683, Section 1 and 1B, that is 3 percentage points over the percent for the previous year until the percentage is reimbursed over, reimbursement reaches 100%. So that was the piece in which they were getting to, so that get back to the 100% reimbursement by the state. It did dip down as low in 2018 as being at 50%, and you can see that right in the law itself. So we are at 73% plus 3 percentage points over that percentage for this year.
For this year?
For this year.
Yes, thank you. I have no other council business. The next regular meeting of the Fairfield Town Council will be held on Wednesday, October 25th, 2023, to be held as a hybrid meeting in council chambers and via Zoom at 6:30 PM. We are now going into recess. Do I have a motion?
Make a motion to go in recess.
Second.
All those in favor? And we will be signing and all documents. Thank you.